Imagine a fortress buried deep beneath an ordinary city block, a place so secure that for decades no one dared cross its threshold. A stronghold built by a man famous for jokes about being cheap, a vault that lived in legend until one day, the locks clicked open and history toppled over. Researchers swept into the dusty room, flashlights dancing across massive steel doors that had remained sealed for half a century. Then they stepped inside, and what they found changed everything they thought they knew about comedy's greatest penny pincher. They just opened Jack Benny's vault, and what's inside has shocked researchers. It all began on a crisp winter morning when archivists at a national library gently lifted a map from storage. The yellowed blueprint showed secret corridors and hidden chambers beneath a modest downtown building. At the center was a room labeled simply Vault, sketched tight with locks and levers. Contemporaneous notes referred to audio reels stashed behind triple steel walls, protected by alarms and armed guards in a fictional radio bit. Nobody believed the drawings were real. For decades, the vault was treated like an urban legend, a punchline in a show about thriftiness and fear of theft. But when a recent donation of radio memorabilia prompted a reevaluation, curiosity overcame skepticism. The library director sent for engineers, and one by one they confirmed the impossible. The vault was not a set piece. It was real. The moment those doors cracked open, decades of silence broke free. The air was stale, each exhale stirring fine dust that danced in the beams of headlamps. Inside, crates marked "Do Not Open" were stacked from floor to ceiling. Metallic containers lined the walls. A central crate sat on a metal table, its lid bolted tight. Labels scrawled in cursive handwriting hinted at dangers and secrets, confessions, war years, private sounds. Researchers hesitated, sensing the gravity of what they were about to uncover. Then, gloves on, they lifted the lid. Beneath it lay reel-to-reel tapes dusted in grime. No note, no explanation. Only reels waiting to spin, revealing voices trapped in time. When the first tape played, a hush fell over the room. Crackles, pops, then a clear, measured voice. "This is Jack Benny. All behind these doors must remain secure. These truths are mine alone." A confession began. Stories of war experiences he'd withheld. Moments of despair after vaudeville failures. Revelations that, if aired, might have ended his career before it truly began. With each word, the legend shifted from comedy to human drama. The man who made millions laugh spoke candidly of guilt, of fear, and of the hidden mechanisms that shaped a simple joke. He described long nights pacing hotel corridors, worrying about the sound of an alarm triggering laughter. He admitted regrets about personal betrayals, family disputes, and opportunities squandered. And he challenged the idea that his public persona represented his private self. These tapes aren't a sideshow. They're a window into a world where humor was survival. Benny built his career on economy. He rarely moved on stage. He delivered one-liners with perfect timing. He let his silence do half the work. Now, those silent moments speak volumes. We hear the scripts he never wrote on air. Jokes about loneliness that never aired. Sketches about war casualties that were shelved for being too raw. Glimpses of an artist grappling with fame and responsibility. We hear experiments in sound design that anticipated modern audio drama, earlier still than Hollywood's biggest studios dared risk. And we hear traces of a man who refused to betray an audience's trust, even if protecting them meant locking his secret self away forever. Yet the contents of the vault go beyond tapes. Photographs rolled into light-sensitive tubes sit in airtight canisters, capturing sets and rehearsals that aired only in Jack Benny's imagination. Handwritten scripts reveal alternate endings to classic sketches, darker punchlines that were never recorded. A small chest contains letters to his wife, filled with affection and vulnerability so unguarded it could have shifted public perception if ever released. In a locked box are taped interviews with soldiers, moments paused between laughter and tears. Each object exudes purpose and secrecy. Benny planned this vault with care, constructing more than a radio bit. He created a time capsule intended to preserve the truth of his life behind the laughter. Now those defenses lie broken. The vault's secrets are no longer under his control. We stand at the threshold, tapes in hand, faces illuminated by the glow of discovery. Once sealed to protect a myth, this vault now demands truth. When those reels spin, Jack Benny's hidden self emerges in real time, and everything changes. Inside the vault, glowing monitors and tape machines hummed to life as researchers adjusted frequencies and magnification levels. Each reel offered a new layer of revelation, a whispered confession echoing across time. The first recording ended with static and a sigh heavier than any sound effect Benny ever created. Onlookers leaned in, eyes locked on the spinning reels, hearts racing. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, as if the vault's walls themselves were breathing. No one spoke. Every mind was captive to the voice etched into magnetic tape. Some reels contained candid accounts of Benny's wartime experiences in the Navy, scenes of camaraderie, raw sketches that were shelved for their dark humor, and confessions of a fear he never voiced on air. We hear him describe the weight of each silent farewell at port, the way laughter became a shield against loss. He admits to guilt over jokes cracked in dingy barracks, humor he now sees as both solace and betrayal, an awkward bridge between life and death at sea. Listeners flinched at moments that exposed the cost of a laugh born amid chaos. Other tapes revealed personal struggles he masked with jokes, secret letters to his wife that spoke of loneliness between dinner orders, the day he collapsed backstage, and fears about a career built on a single persona. One letter snapped into clarity as Benny's own words even admitted regret over pushing his mother's musical dreams aside for the applause of strangers. Researchers passed the letter between shaking hands, disbelief shimmering over every cursive loop. Beyond words, photographs rolled in light-sensitive tubes whispered of staged rehearsals and behind-the-scenes glimpses Benny's camera never captured on film. In one snapshot, he stood alone under a lone stage light, violin in hand, suspense etched across his face. A director scrawled notes on the border. "Hold this moment for truth." That photograph became iconic among vault artifacts, a silent testament to a comedian's hidden depth. But the vault's most unsettling secret lay deeper. Audio interviews with soldiers whose laughter meshed with tears in improvised USO shows. Benny recorded their stories, tales of narrow escapes, fractured friendships, and the way a single punchline could lift spirits even when hope felt lost. One veteran confessed that Benny's show had become a beacon on cold Pacific nights, warding off fear with retorts sharper than any weapon. This recording revealed comedy's unexpected power and challenged researchers to see Benny not as a comic, but as a soldier of laughter, fighting a different kind of war. Even crates of archival props surfaced, ailing vault diagrams annotated with Benny's own notes, fallback jokes penciled into margins, and a small box of costume pieces, a top hat frayed at the brim, tattered gloves, buttons detached yet ready for a punchline. Each object told a story of performances never aired, sketches outlined then abandoned when reality felt too heavy for laughter. One assistant's diary mentioned a vault draft segment mocking post-war bureaucracy, scrapped for fear of censorship. Benny's careful hand in those decisions was undeniable, and yet the artifacts proved his commitment to his art above all else. The researchers played each recording in chronological order, mapping a timeline of imagination, fear, and innovation. They traced Benny's path from shy violinist to pioneering audio dramatist, a figure who rewrote comedy with nothing but voice, silence, and well-timed hesitation. In lab journals, they logged every discovery, frequencies used to simulate footsteps, echoes pitched to raise tension, and Foley tricks Benny devised to transform laughter into narrative propulsion. These innovations predated Hollywood sound stages by years, proving that the vault was both archive and laboratory. As the final tape wound down, a hush settled over the team. They'd witnessed years of creative struggle and breakthroughs, a man's private reckoning rendered unguarded. Each reel bared part of a larger truth, that beneath the laughter lay a relentless search for meaning. When silence returned, researchers exchanged glances, hearts heavy and minds racing with questions. What would the public do with this trove? How would modern audiences reckon with a comedian who built his legacy on secrets? They knew one thing for certain. The vault no longer belonged to Jack Benny. Now, as documents and tapes transfer into secure servers, the world holds its breath. Historians will debate ethics of disclosure. Fans will reevaluate every laugh and pause Benny ever delivered. and scholars will rewrite chapters on audio innovation, inspired by Vault's secrets. But one truth remains undeniable. Beneath the famously frugal persona lay a truth more priceless than any treasure Benny ever guarded. This vault remains a testament to the courage of truly opening a heart. Outside the vault, the world tipped its axis. News outlets scrambled for footage of that cracked steel door. Social feeds filled with shaky videos of tape machines whirring to life. Historians hurried to annotate every shred of context, while comedians and podcasters speculated on the comedic gold hidden behind those walls. Even casual listeners found themselves clutching earbuds, afraid to miss a single word. It felt like a rescue mission for the soul of mid-century comedy, and every revelation promised to reshape how we understood laughter itself. At a makeshift press conference, the library director cleared her throat. She spoke of responsibility. These recordings are private confessions, not public sound bites. Yet in the next breath, she admitted that once the vault opened, control slipped through every finger. Lawyers argued journalistic privilege. Archivists worried about ethical breaches. Fans marched online demanding immediate release. The clash of protectors versus revealers mirrored the very tension Jack Benny had played with on air: security versus spectacle, privacy pitted against public appetite. Meanwhile, audio engineers worked around the clock cataloging reels, scanning canisters of photographs, and digitizing letters. Their screens glowed with waveform analyses, spectrograms revealing hidden annotations Benny had uttered beneath coughs or music. Armed with modern software, they unearthed overlapping tracks, 2 layers of dialogue engineered to reveal only when toggled. One engineer whispered, "He was playing us even in the vault." And she was right. Each reel was a carefully constructed labyrinth, designed to reveal not only what Benny said, but how he wanted the world to discover it. Podcasters booked bonus episodes. Film crews descended on the library. An investigative journalist promised a 3-part series on comedy's greatest secret. YouTubers titled videos, "What Jack Benny Hid Until Now," and "Can We Survive His Confessions?" Every tap of the keyboard felt like a footstep closer to a revelation too potent to ignore. People refreshed browsers in the dead of night, fearing they'd wake to find the vault's stories vanished, erased by legal injunction or lost under bureaucratic red tape. Yet amid the clamor, a quieter reckoning unfolded in scholarship circles. Audio historians gathered in online forums to compare Benny's sound techniques with Orson Welles' wartime broadcasts. Literary critics dissected his unpublished scripts, marveling at how he wove tension into simple gags. A professor emailed colleagues. He anticipated postmodern irony decades before it had a name. In lecture halls, students listened to raw vault tapes, marking moments when Benny's chiaroscuro humor flickered between light and shadow. They debated whether his real power lay in timing or vulnerability, and whether humor could ever be divorced from truth. Library staff erected a temporary listening station in a climate-controlled archive room. There, a limited number of scholars donned cotton gloves and headphones. Each session lasted no more than 2 hours, time to prevent overload of sensitive material. The first visitor stepped in, hands trembling as she queued up Reel 14. A hush enveloped the room as Benny's voice crackled to life, revealing a joke so personal it was almost silent. An offhand quip about his own mortality whispered into the microphone. Some listeners wept. Others took notes with obsessive care, knowing this clip would become a cornerstone of modern comedy studies. Outside that room, social media exploded with transcripts. "He said what?" Someone posted a handwritten love note to Mary Livingstone, its words more profound than any sketch. Another user shared a clip of a rehearsal for a vault bit so rich with existential dread that it blurred boundaries between comedy and confessional therapy. The public devoured every fragment, hungry for more, yet wary of how much heart they could handle. The more they learned, the less certain they felt about the man who had once seemed so simple, a penny pincher wrapped in a tight punchline. As debates raged online, a different kind of storytelling blossomed. A small audio collective obtained permission to release a mini-series called The Hidden Laughter, weaving vault tapes with modern commentary. Their episodes began with a haunting door creak and ended with a lingering pause, inviting listeners to reflect on the cost of every joke. Critics lauded the series for its elegance and restraint. Listeners praised it for restoring humanity to legends. Each show felt like peeling back a layer of silence, revealing the trembling voice beneath. Simultaneously, a documentary crew turned dusty corridor shots into cinematic gold. They filmed conservationists brushing dust off metal crates, used dramatic lighting to spotlight inventory tags, and interviewed Benny's granddaughter, whose eyes glistened with pride and pain. In one scene, she cradles a reel labeled "The Night I Cried," recalling her grandfather's tears after a performance he'd judged a failure. When the footage premiered at a film festival, audiences rose in a standing ovation, not for comedy, but for courage, his courage to store fear and grief in a box, trusting that one day someone would listen. Still, the toughest discussion emerges now. Who owns these stories? Does the vault belong to his estate, scholars, or the public? Some argue that secrets meant to be hidden should stay hidden, a final act of respect. Others claim that Jack Benny dedicated his life to connecting with audiences, and the vault is simply another stage for his audience, albeit a century-late one. Whatever verdict emerges, it cannot ignore the sheer force of these revelations, that behind every joke lay a human heart, beating quietly in a fortified room. And as society grapples with the weight of unveiled suffering and joy, one question looms larger than all. Now that the vault is open, are we prepared for what comes next? The tremors from that first crack in the vault doors continue to ripple outward. Academics debate the fine line between historical preservation and voyeuristic exposure, while legal teams spin webs of copyright, estate rights, and public domain claims. Some argue that these tapes, locked away by Benny's own hand, should remain sealed as private confessions. Others insist that comedy, like all art, belongs to its audience. Proposals vary from a restricted access archive for credentialed researchers to an open digital repository with age-gated warnings. Every suggestion exposes a fracture between respect for artistic intent and hunger for sensational discovery. In living rooms and lecture halls, people ask, who truly owns a legacy, its creator or its consumers? Meanwhile, Benny's family finds itself at the eye of the storm. His granddaughter, now custodian of personal letters, faces a dilemma: honor her grandfather's privacy or trust that the world will treat these revelations with dignity. In a rare interview, she admitted trembling hands as she watched researchers unwrap the velvet-lined box containing Mary's love letters. She recalled her grandmother's gentle smile, yet firm insistence that some things are sacred. Yet she also acknowledged that keeping these artifacts hidden felt like denying history. As descendants wrestle with grief, pride, and responsibility, the vault becomes more than steel and tape. It becomes a living testament to choices made long ago. Generational divides shape the conversation, too. College students raised on-demand streaming binge vault clips in dorm rooms, pausing to annotate new revelations. Podcasts dissect every nuance in Reddit threads, while older fans, who once tuned in faithfully on radio, wonder if the man they trusted to keep laughter light now seems unmoored by raw confession. Some elders lament the loss of innocence, longing for jokes untainted by personal anguish. Younger listeners celebrate vulnerability as the highest form of artistry. In coffee shops, baristas overhear debates about vault authenticity versus performance myth, as if Benny's legacy is a Rorschach test for each generation's values. Amid these cultural convulsions, a courtroom drama unfolds. A media conglomerate files an injunction to secure exclusive streaming rights, while a coalition of historians sues for universal access. Judges sift through precedent, unpublished diaries, lost musical scores, and private correspondences. They question whether Benny's vault is akin to a composer's sketchbook or a sealed diary, and whether a public figure's private moments ever truly belong to anyone but themselves. The courtroom's hush rivals that vault chamber, a place where words carry unexpected weight. Every legal maneuver further underscores the paradox Benny himself dramatized. Security designed to protect can also imprison. As litigation grinds on, creative minds propose middle roads. A time-locked release schedule would let tapes emerge gradually, letting the public digest Benny's revelations in manageable installments. Some suggest curated exhibitions in national museums, pairing vault artifacts with live performances to contextualize context and protect sensitivity. Others champion an interactive virtual vault. Visitors navigate a 3D reconstruction, choosing which rooms to enter and which reels to play, guided by Benny's voice itself. Each concept wrestles with the same question: how can we honor an artist's agency while satisfying collective curiosity? No solution satisfies every heart or mind, and so the debate marches on. Through it all, a deeper truth emerges. Jack Benny's vault has become more than a container of secrets. It stands as a mirror reflecting how we value art, privacy, and legacy in an age of instant revelation. It reminds us that humor can illuminate pain, and that vulnerability can forge connection even across decades. As librarians catalog and lawyers negotiate, the world watches, breath held, waiting to discover how much truth we can bear in pursuit of understanding, and whether laughter, once bound by silence, can ever fully be set free. As the world wrestles with the fate of Jack Benny's vault, another revolution quietly unfolds behind closed doors. Deep in the library's climate-controlled stacks, a team of cultural curators sketches plans for Unlocked Laughter, a traveling exhibition that promises to immerse visitors in the very heart of Benny's secret world. Attendees will don vintage headphones, settle before authentic reel-to-reel machines, and press play on segments originally engineered to hush entire audiences. Surround sound simulations will echo laughter that once rang through vaudeville halls, while interactive workstations invite guests to reconstruct Benny's iconic vault gag with their own Foley effects. At each station, scanned blueprints and tactile reproductions of steel locks reveal how meticulous and theatrical he really was. This isn't mere nostalgia. It's a live archaeology of humor, a chance to feel the pulse of a bygone era and understand that every joke was crafted with surgical precision and guarded like state secrets. Meanwhile, audio innovators adapt vault recordings into modern media. A prominent sound design studio recently completed Vault FX, a remastered series of Benny's lost sketches, enhanced with subtle soundscapes that layer wind, distant footsteps, and orchestral flourishes to heighten suspense. Released as a limited edition vinyl box set, each record features hidden codes etched along the grooves, access keys that unlock bonus digital files, unseen letters, and alternate takes. Collectors scramble to decode references Benny whispered in the margins, hunting URLs and QR codes concealed in dust and static. Social media quickly becomes a treasure map, with clues posted by fellow enthusiasts as they collaborate across continents to unlock every secret embedded in waxprint grooves. It's a remarkable marriage of mid-century ingenuity and 21st-century interactivity, proving that a vault meant to hide truths can ultimately reveal them in ways Benny never imagined. In university classrooms, scholars are weaving vault materials into curricula. Communication professors assign vault transcripts as primary sources, asking students to compare Benny's ironical pauses with modern improvisational comedy. Music departments analyze rare sheet music discovered alongside vault reels, discovering that Benny composed melodic motifs to cue punchlines and time silence. Even business schools study his vault gag as a masterclass in branding and scarcity. Create a protected object, tease curiosity, then reveal it incrementally to maintain audience engagement. Student projects range from live reenactments to multimedia essays charting how a comedian's secret stash influenced radio tropes for decades. The vault becomes more than an archive. It's a living laboratory for lessons in art, technology, and audience psychology. On stage, comedians respond to the vault's revelations with new routines. One rising comic jokes, "I finally know why Jack Benny was so cheap. His inheritance tax demanded every line be guarded better than Fort Knox." Another leans on confessional humor, sharing private anxieties with strangers to build empathy, inspired by Benny's raw vault tapes. Late-night hosts riff on vault leaks and monologues, using analogies to modern data breaches and privacy scandals. Even improv troupes craft sketches set in a modern-day vault, riffing on trust, secrets, and the absurd lengths we'll go to protect our vulnerabilities. By turning Benny's hidden tapes into comedic currency, they honor his influence while updating his methods for a digital age. In parallel, Academic podcasts feature three-part series exploring vault themes. Episode 1 examines Benny's persona as performance art, deconstructing how his penny-pinching stereotype protected deeper vulnerability. Episode 2 traces the vault's sound engineering breakthroughs, interviewing surviving audio technicians who recall building pressure chambers to capture alley echoes. Episode 3 dives into ethical quandaries, hosting philosophers, archivists, and family members to debate whether any treasure chest of private confessions should be unlocked at all. Each installment ends with a prompt inviting listeners to share their own secrets anonymously, creating a digital vault of collective memory. It turns research into participation, inviting a new generation to weigh in on the meaning of secrets and the value of laughter when vulnerability is on display. Amid these cultural ripples, digital archivists race to preserve every bit of vault content. They build redundant cloud servers with unhackable encryption, guaranteeing that Benny's truth remains accessible for posterity even if physical reels deteriorate. They create searchable databases that tag each moment by theme: war, romance, failure, triumph. Anyone can query loneliness or panic and immediately hear Benny's confessions on those topics. The vault's private moments transform into public resources for mental health professionals studying humor as a therapeutic tool. Psychologists point to Benny's candid jokes about fear as early examples of artful self-deprecation used to process trauma. Thus, a comedic vault becomes a psychological archive, bridging laughter and healing. As this multifaceted project gathers momentum, one question persists: will the public approach these revelations with curiosity or with compassion? Jack Benny mirrored our own struggles, crafting a character whose stony silence between words often said more than his clever one-liners. Now, as we rediscover his hidden truths and reframe them for new mediums, we confront our own impulses towards secrecy, spectacle, and sincerity. The vault has cracked open not only a comedian's collection, but also a mirror reflecting our collective belief that laughter deserves as much protection as personal memory. And in that fragile intersection between humor and humanity, we find our greatest surprise. Opening the vault may have unlocked not just Jack Benny's secrets, but our own readiness to embrace vulnerability through the timeless power of laughter. Now that the vault's contents have spilled into the public domain, we stand at an unprecedented crossroads in how we honor memory, manufacture laughter, and define privacy. The reels, letters, and photographs that once lay silent now pulse with new meaning as generations weigh their gravity against gaiety. Listeners in Paris lean back in cafe chairs, earbuds in place, blinking back surprise at confessions once locked away. Scholars in Tokyo analyze spectrograms to decode whispered annotations hidden beneath radio static. Even tech-savvy teens in Rio stitch together online codes to unlock bonus reels. Rapidly, the vault has become a global phenomenon, a cultural touchstone that challenges us to consider whether humor thrives best in the bright glare of public scrutiny or in the softer shades of sacred seclusion. Our collective response will redefine legacy itself. Many will argue that these vault recordings should be shelved again, sealed behind metaphorical locks of sensitivity and respect for Benny's personal boundaries. They remind us that public figures often curate only fragments of their identity for the stage. What we hear in these tapes are intimate soliloquies that reveal guilt, fear, and longing, emotions seldom aired between jokes. Some feel that unleashing these confessions into the wild risks trampling on dignity, turning vulnerability into spectacle. Yet others counter that hiding human truth under layers of protection denies future generations the opportunity to learn from complex legacies. And so the debate rages. Do we preserve a sanitized myth that comforts, or embrace a raw narrative that challenges us to grow, even if it unsettles the laughter we once took for granted? As archives evolve, so too do our definitions of ownership and stewardship. Digital platforms pledge to build robust ethical frameworks, promising age gates, content warnings, and contextual essays to accompany each vault revelation. Listeners clicking through supersedes mere consumption. They become participants in a conversation that spans time and place. Podcast hosts weave moral commentary alongside archival clips, creating what some call a new genre: conversational history. Readers encounter annotated transcripts in interactive ebooks that highlight historical footnotes, personal reflections, and cross-cultural comparisons. In every medium, the vault's revelations prompt questions about consent, empathy, and the responsibilities of storytelling. For Jack Benny, a man whose art depended on perfectly timed pauses, these pauses now invite reflection far beyond the final punchline. In theatrical circles, directors stage live unveilings of vault material, blending archival authenticity with performative flair. Actors don vintage costumes, reel-to-reel players hum beside tailcoats and fedoras, and audiences sit in semi-darkness to mimic radio's golden era. Every gasp at a private confession, every silence after an intimate joke, becomes part of the communal experience. Post-performance panels of historians, psychologists, and comedians dissect the emotional impact, debating whether laughter born of vulnerability resonates more deeply than scripted punchlines. Patrons leave with pamphlets urging thoughtful discourse, not mere entertainment. By framing these revelations as living theater, curators aim to honor Benny's original impulse, to craft a moment that surprised audience, caught them off guard, and invited them to reconsider what humor could reveal about the human heart. Ultimately, the vault's greatest gift may lie in how it fosters empathy across generations. Each tape is a reminder that the wounds laughter heals are often deeper than the smiles it provokes. When we listen to Benny's private disclosures, moments of doubt, longing for connection, playful self-mockery, we recognize those same impulses within ourselves. His silences become invitations for self-reflection, and his jokes, though rooted in 1945, resonate with universal questions of identity, purpose, and belonging. In an era of soundbites and fleeting trends, these deliberate recordings invite us to slow down, to hear beyond the punchline into the spaces where meaning lives. The Vault shows that true comedic genius can embrace vulnerability, transforming personal truth into shared humanity. It stands as a beacon, urging creators and audiences alike to celebrate authenticity over artifice. As we step away from the Vault and return to our everyday lives, its echoes continue to resonate in unexpected ways. Comedians craft new bits that balance humor with heartfelt confession. Authors publish memoirs that embrace flawed humanity, and podcast producers weave solemn moments between laughs to remind listeners that every story deserves depth. Even in offices and classrooms, teams reference Benny's legacy when designing presentations, tucking in a well-timed pause or a strategic reveal to drive engagement. Ultimately, the open vault transcends its original purpose. It becomes a catalyst for fresh conversations about the value of truth, the boundaries of privacy, and the enduring power of laughter to heal, connect, and unite. For all who dare to open it, Jack Benny's Vault offers more than secrets. It offers the gift of understanding.